author of the new book, Countdown 1960. It's our old friend, Chris Wallace. The other Countdown books you've done cover the atomic bomb and the killing of bin Laden. Why was 1960 next for you?
I think two reasons, and it was time so it would come out now, and I thought a book about an important election during the final month before an election made sense. First of all, and you've got a bunch of young people here who don't necessarily remember Nixon and Kennedy, 1960. It was a fabulous election. These are two really compelling characters, two, I think, of the most interesting political figures in America in the second half of the 20th century.
And what people forget, because we only picture the old Nixon, there was two young men running for this position.
Kennedy ended up as the youngest elected president at 42. Nixon was only 47. I think it was the first modern election. Kennedy had pollsters, personal pollsters. He had a private plane, the Caroline, that had been bought for him by his very rich father. He traveled around the country, very sophisticated use of television. The last person on earth he wanted as his running mate was Lyndon Johnson, and Johnson kind of outsmarted him and ended up as his vice presidential running mate at the Democratic Convention, which is a great story. Then they have the first debate, and Nixon just makes mistake after mistake, and I think really lost the election because of how that debate went. But as good as the story is, and I think it's a really interesting story and you'll learn a lot in it, is the relevance to 2020 and to what we're going through right now in American politics. It really sort of turns what's going on right now on its head, because I contend, and we report and document in the book, that was an election that probably was stolen by John Kennedy. And Richard Nixon, who's not usually portrayed as a hero, made, in the end, the decision not to contest the election because it was the height of the Cold War. He didn't want to go to the courts. He didn't want to paralyze the country. And
also it would look terrible for America to the rest of the world, who were trying to convince to be part of democracy.
No, he didn't care about that part. But I think he decided to do what was best for the country. It said to him, best example, January 6th. January 6th of 1961, Richard Nixon, who was the vice president, had to preside over the counting of the electoral votes in the House of Representatives. He counted the votes. He certified that John F. Kennedy had beaten him. He congratulated Kennedy, who was in the House chamber, and said, there's nothing that is a better statement about what our democracy is all about. Contrast that to January 6th of 2021, when your friend Donald Trump holds a rally on the ellipse and says, if we don't fight like hell, we're not going to have a country anymore. And as we now learned from the Jack Smith filing, when he's in the dining room next to the Oval Office and somebody rushes in and says, hey, Mike Pence is in trouble, he says, so what? Ooh.
Yeah.
Let the record note that there was a kind of a growl from the crowd here at the Ed Sullivan Theater.
Oh, yeah. We have mics out there. They'll find out.
Wow.
A stirring story, Chris. Thank you so much. Nice to see you again. Countdown 1960 is available Tuesday. The man is Chris Wallace, everybody. We'll be right back with Chef Yotam Altolengi.